and knowledge economies across the globe. Economies used to grow, of course, on the back of labor. Increasingly, it's access to information and technology that provides the edge. And South Africa is falling behind on the African continent, despite even a look at the globe. But well, to discuss, we're now joined by investment analyst at Old Mutual Investment Group, Philip Short. He's in our Seapoint studio in Cape Town. Good evening to you, Philip. Telkom's theoretical speeds are 90 megabits per second. If you jump on the sale, you could get this at around 600 Rand a month. How does that compare with what's already on offer and standards around the world?
Evening. I think it is pretty impressive. I think the speeds that you'll get will be higher than than what people usually what you'll get on competitor networks. The thing is because not too many people are using their network, so there's not the capacity is not strained. The pricing is maybe fair to a little bit expensive compared to the rest of the world. But I think the problem is that it's currently being offered only to a select few. So if you look, they've got about 13 or 1,500 of these fast LTE towers that will be offering this packages, and they can take about 200 people per tower. So you're looking at about 300,000 people that they will have access to this in Gauteng.
So very limited. It's not really uncapped, is it? Because Telkom does reserve the right to stop you downloading all day, every day on every computer that you have. But I guess that's reasonable practice, right?
Yeah, I'm not too sure how it works elsewhere, but I mean, you're right. They do. After a certain amount that you've used, they'll throttle down the speeds, the download speeds quite a lot. So it's probably not fair to say that it is proper uncapped.
This was discussed at the WEF on Africa last week. Let's look at the bigger picture, the need for Africa to harness broadband, or we will fall behind again after some of the growth rates that we've seen. We need it for competitiveness. I got the impression that East Africa is getting on with it. Kigali, apparently a Wi-Fi city, basically. Do you think we're behind on this continent, and why?
I think we are. I think if we look at why we're behind, I think we must look at broadband and break it into two parts, and that would be fixed line broadband and mobile broadband. On fixed, Telkom has had a monopoly for quite a while until recently, and when a company has a monopoly, there's very little incentive for them to invest. So there was very little investment in fibre on the fixed side from Telkom. On the mobile side, a lot of the private companies, MTN and Vodacom, for example, have been putting a lot of capex and towers in the ground, and they spent a lot of money. But the problem is that you still need spectrum, and spectrum has been quite constrained, and it's partly to blame because of the government. The government has not awarded or issued that spectrum. So the delay from government on that has caused the problem, and those are the two reasons why we're behind.
Is that the main policy intervention that we need, the apportioning of that spectrum very soon?
Yes, we do need it. I don't know why it's been taken so long. Comments that we've heard lately is that it is going to be coming in the first quarter of next year, but it's taking too long, and we need it now. And I share the frustration with the mobile operators that they can't offer their services because of the constraint of spectrum.
How important is this, Philip? What sort of implications does it have for growth, for investments, and for the jobs that we need?
I think broadband and basically just the fast internet is very important for an economy. If we look at South Africa, the internet contributes about 2% of our economy. If you look at the UK, it's about 8 to 10% of the economy. So it does facilitate GDP growth. It facilitates services. It facilitates commerce. So if you do not have that, you're not getting the productivity that other countries may get. I think to give a very simple example, the simplest example I can think of is I haven't been into a banking branch for years, but I remember it used to take hours and hours driving to the bank, standing in a queue, filling out the forms, and then going back to doing whatever it was you were doing. Now you can do it online, you can do the banking online. So probably I've saved myself a couple of days in a year of not sitting in queues and waiting in banks. Those days that I've saved can be used now elsewhere, and hence that increases productivity.
There is a fear, and tell me if you think it's warranted, that this could in fact increase inequality. If you still have, like you have in South Africa, rural areas where people don't have access to internet. So now it's even more unequal, even harder for them to go and get a job when technology is moving fast so quickly. How do we mitigate against that?
Well, it's about rolling out broadband to these rural areas, and I think it's not always going to be a commercially viable point of view. So I think government must take some of the initiative and roll out the broadband themselves.
Thank you very much. Philip Short from Old Mutual Investment Group from our Sea Point studio, and that's a wrap from Business Review.